Good evening. This is Looper Talk. My name is Tim Palmer. This is a brand new podcast that I am starting, and this is our very first episode. So, welcome. To start off, I'm going to talk about myself, who I am, what the significance of this whole deal is. Tying into that, I'll speak about my story as well, involving the PGA of America, and then towards the end of our episode, I will start to kind of maybe talk more about why we're doing this and how this will connect, and what the whole purpose of this podcast is to begin with. So, it being my very first episode, I'm obviously very excited to get dived into all these topics that I have so much to speak about. So, again, my name's Tim Palmer. I'm a Class A PGA professional. For you haters, my number is 2772-1008. I am a caddy at Bandon Dunes Golf Resort. Been there for about 10 years. I also have caddied at Cherry Hills for a little while. Spent some time at Asheville Country Club, doing similar ideas. And then I also went through the PGM University at North Carolina State, which gave me my credentials. It was very interesting for me how to become a Class A professional through a caddy yard. So I'll get more into that as well. And, it's to find my place in the golf world has been eventful, to say the least. So, I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, a little small town north of there called Weaverville. Obviously played high school golf, played college golf, lost my scholarship. I was playing at a small college, Maryville College in Knoxville, and didn't work out, so I moved back home. I actually tried culinary school for a while. That was I was not very good at it. Found that out very quickly. I was at AB Tech there. This was probably 2011 through 2013. And I had a buddy of mine tell me about the PAT. And so I went to the Walker course at Clemson. Passed, not by much, but I made it. I didn't really, and then from there, I didn't know what the PAT really was. At that time, I probably had a golf club, never touched one for 2 years. After the scholarship fell through, golf was kind of in a static place for me, and so to find that passion again was kind of revigorated with the PAT. And so after I passed, I contacted the PGM program at North Carolina State to see if I could maybe find a way to find some financial aid from passing the PAT, which they did. They graciously gave me some money to go there. And a lady by the name of Susan Colby, by the way, she's no longer there. It's actually ironic. The PGM University at North Carolina State is coming to a close. I believe they were not getting adequate funding. I could be wrong. I'm not totally sure. But, their program is shutting down. So that's kind of sad. But, for those who don't know, the PGA of America, to be a Class A professional, you have to go through these levels. I think now it's a 3.0, maybe 4.0 model. I went through the 2.0 model. There's some tests, there's some seminars, and then there's internships that are required. So if you haven't had previous college prerequisites done, you're looking at a 5-year program. My guess would be on average you're going to spend, at least for me, my student loans were somewhere between 60 to 100,000, roughly, depending on what you get. And that experience to me was awesome. Growing up in the golf world, I grew up at Asheville Municipal. It's actually the course that's right there. Which, send a prayer out. We had once Asheville had that massive hurricane, the front nine got completely destroyed. So, it's a course built in 1927, old Donna Ross. It's actually got a great story behind it. If you want to look more into it. And the Golf Channel posted a video called The Muni. If you ever want to look that up, that talks all about it. Very blessed to have came from there. And so, coming from there, I never really had, father was as an electrician. I grew up on a Muni course. That should tell you alone there. I didn't have a lot of the financial backing to kind of push myself in the golf industry. And so or to go along with, junior golf and, be a part of the golf world. So I did a lot of my, learning how to golf through gambling at Muni against players, playing, shit from 8 to 8, during the summer. I mean, there was probably 5 or 6 years in a row I played 300 days a year at least. So golf bug really hit me hard. And so to kind of tie all that in, being that involved in the golf world at such a young age, I had a lot of professional staff, whether they were at Muni or a different course, they kind of alerted me on how the working conditions in the golf world aren't necessarily the greatest. Pay's not very good. It's long hours, that's a whole nother episode there. But so to get into the PGM program, I was like, okay, this is a really cool experience, but I don't want to, I don't want to sit behind a desk and fold shirts and babysit members for a living. I don't want to be a store clerk. That's not what I spent, $100,000 in college to do. I want to be something, especially teaching. I've always enjoyed teaching. I think that's where a lot of the PGA professionals lie. I know there's some guys that are business oriented, not going to take that from you all, or ladies, excuse me, not all men. It's obviously mixed there, but I think most of the PGA professionals, they are very adamant on, I have a purpose, and sitting behind a desk answering a phone is so deflating for a lot of us, because we have all this knowledge, we have all this eagerness to help and to get involved in the game and to grow the game, and that's just such a dead-end way of doing it. Not to mention the salary positions is, I mean, as an assistant professional, you're lucky to be making 50 to 60K a year, so it's just a hard way to go. So for me, through one of my internships, I had some previous friends of mine that alerted me, hey, this Caddy program out in Bandon Dunes, that's pretty, that's a good way of starting. You're outside. The money's obviously pretty good, but you're interacting with golfers. You're helping golfers, work around the course. But there's a teaching element there. I'm helping, maybe a chip shot or a bunker shot situation. I can spit some tips maybe to help a player out, or even mental game stuff. There's just caddying is a very broad kind of a spectrum in terms of like what positions we have to play out there. Sometimes it's, we have to be a mental coach, and then sometimes we have to, do all the physical work. It just depends on the player, right? So we have to be very adaptive, which is also, I think, amazing. In my profession, I have learned how to interact with multiple personalities, which as a PGA professional, that's something that we are not only used to, but I think that's a requirement to mirror personalities, right? And that's how, especially a really good teacher, in order to, speak clearly with a client, you know, or student, whatever, it's up to us to kind of, make sure that they understand what we're saying. And so sometimes some people can understand some things, and obviously some people have a whole different mindset. So we have to adapt to those. And, so once I got to Bandon Dunes for my internship, this was 2015, I loved it. I absolutely enjoyed. One, the weather was insane. I still, and if you've been to Bandon Dunes, you know exactly what I'm saying. There is days where I can't believe we're even playing golf, but we are. And to reflect on Bandon Dunes, obviously it's a arm and a leg to get there. You're spending all this money to get there. It's a lot of time, effort, right? So you're not just going to go out all the way out to the coast of Oregon and not do something. So, and I think that's parallels with the facility's kind of mission statement, or not, their vision really. Golf as it was meant to be. I think, back in the early days in Ireland and Scotland, they didn't have the best of weather. And so, they, and if you live in a climate that doesn't have very good weather, you tend to mentally get, because you're not getting a lot of vitamin D from the sunlight, so you mentally get kind of down, right? And so movement, being outside, that helps with that. And so I think a lot of the guys, or, ladies, I don't want to say all guys, but a lot of the golfers, in kind of back then, I think they really admired the fact that it gave them something to do outside in that weather. So, I can see why Bandon Dunes is open 365. Obviously the course deals with heavy rain, and, we've had a lot more growth of Poana over the years. So the course itself isn't draining like it used to. It still drains very well. The superintendents out there do obviously a fantastic job. And, and so anyways, to keep on about me, tie it off. So now, 10 years later, obviously after the internship, I moved to Bandon about 2017, end of 2017 after that. Before that, I caddied at Cherry Hills to get the experience necessary for me to feel adequate to be at Bandon. And from 2017 on, I've been caddying at Bandon. Now, off and on, I did have 2 stints where my dad got some money, sponsored me, and I went back to North Carolina and I played on the Mountain Golf Tour, which is a mini tour circuit that's in the Carolinas. I've played professionally for a long time, since 2016. I've struggled breaking through, I would say. I can shoot 68, sure, but I have a hard time shooting those low 60 rounds. Or to, go like 10 under for 3 days, 4 under, or, 4 days, whatever. I tend to, that's something I've struggled in. So, and I'm still working on it to this day. I love the game. I love the pressure behind it. I think we all do, right? That's why we're here. And so now what I do is I teach out at Coos Golf Club, besides caddying, and then sometimes I'll head down in the desert, caddy for some clients I've met through business that way. Or some buddies of mine that I've worked for, they give me opportunities down there. I still play professionally. I play mostly the PGA, the P&W sectional tournaments, which range from Montana all the way down to Southern Oregon. It's a big, wide area, so it's a little frustrating for me because sometimes you have to drive like up to 15 hours, and obviously, excuse me, that can get pretty pricey. So, safe to say my, and I have kids now, so my tournament schedule, I wish it was a little bit more frequent, but I maybe play in tournament once a month at most, if I'm lucky. And so that's kind of where I'm at now, as I caddy, take care of the fam. And so let's, for me, I want to now talk about why I'm here and what transpired with me about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and how I think this is a small example of what needs to change in the golf world and what needs to be looked at, or put attention to. So back in 2024, I played in a tournament called the Rose Hours Open. It's in Spokane, Washington. I played a course called Indian Canyon Golf Club. Older course. I think they used to play a tour event back in the 60s. I could be wrong. It's a great golf course, not very long, narrow, pine trees. If y'all have ever been to Spokane, it's kind of high deserty, which, trust me, coming from the East Coast, it's like golfing on the moon, man. Driving from Bandon out to there, you have to go through these like Tri-Cities, Pasco. I mean, it's like bumfucked Egypt, man. It's flat for days. There's actually this government camp in Oregon, Oregon, that has all these bunkers that are like dug out of the. It's the trippiest thing ever. I still, my wife has family in Coeur d'Alene, which is right next to Spokane, and so we've, obviously did that drive staying with them, and every time I do that drive, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is, I don't know how people live like this, but they do. But it's a beautiful place. I actually really like, it's like an old Western movie. So, but anyways, so during the tournament, it's a 3-day tournament, 2 days, and then you get cut the last day, whatever. It's a pro event. It's a major. So the P&W section has 4 majors every year. One of the majors is, they call it the PPC. I'm not sure exactly what that means, player something championship. And what it does is it gives you the opportunity to go qualify. If you get top, I think 7, maybe top 10, you then go to the PGA Professional Tournament, right? And we all know that. That's the big one. The Michael Block, he got into his PGA Championship that way. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is the Michael Block theory is what I call it. Is, you play in that PPC, you do good enough, and then you get invite to the PGA, and then once you get the PGA National Tournament, if you get top 20, then you get to the, big leagues, which I would love. Anybody, obviously. And so at this tournament, what happened was first day I didn't play well. I shot 4 over. And then second day I was on a heater. I think at one point I was 5 under. And so I'm thinking, okay, make the cut, make some money. It's a drivable par 4. I started on the front. I was on number 7, 8. And, no, it's number 7. Excuse me. 8's a par 3. So 7's this dogleg right. It's only 285. Had a group on the tee waiting. My group's in the fairway. Group on the green. They just get off. I proceed to hit the tee shot, and I pull it in the trees. I yell fuck. I didn't really slam it that hard. I just shoved the club in the ground. And then I go on my cart and leave. And so on the 9th hole, I get presented with a fine of $100. Fine, whatever. I thought that was a little aggressive because no one alerted me. I didn't have a rules official say anything to me beforehand. They just kind of said, oh, yeah, here's your $100 fine, whatever. And so, okay. We get through the round. I speak with the tournament director afterwards. It's like, hey, I found this very inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. We had our discussion. Moved on from there. Yes, I don't think she really liked my tone of my voice. Fine. I tend to be a little brash, but I never cussed at her. I never said anything negative towards her. I wouldn't do that, right? I get it if I'm a little tense and, I have kind of like a sharp tone of voice. That's one thing. But, I never cussed her out. Or, excuse me, I never cussed them out. Didn't, come on. Like, right? So anyways, 3 months later, I get a letter in the mail not in the mail, in my email saying that I have to do this Zoom call. And so I do this Zoom call, and I'm with the board of directors of the PGA of America. I'm not going to mention names. They know who they are. And they sat there and told me to my face that I could get suspended from the PGA for using profanity in a golf tournament. I'm going to go again. They said that I can get suspended. Now I'm talking like legit taking away my accreditation that I have went through all that schooling, all that time and effort to get. They're going to take it away from me for a year, or up to 2 years actually is what they stated, because of profanity. I have a hard time saying that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get on the internet. You still see me? Okay. Give me a second. So I'm going to get on the internet, okay? And I'm going to show y'all some videos really quick, because this will be super entertaining for all of us. And this is, now before I get into this, I want to remind y'all, okay? So when there's two major tournaments not every year, but there's two major tournaments that are probably the creme of the crop for the PGA of America. Okay, now our next episode, I will speak about what the difference is between the PGA Tour, PGA of America, the politics. Okay, so the PGA of America has these two events that make their money. It's the PGA Championship and it's the Ryder Cup. Okay, so what that means, now I can't be specific on the PGA Tour because they have a whole different setup. They have different rules and regulations. They got a whole different tournament committee, so that doesn't qualify for me. But the PGA Championship and the Ryder Cup are PGA of America, which the tournament I played in is under the same regulations, okay? Same regulations. So they have zero excuses for this. Now, I'm going to show you videos of pros, couple, I'm not going to get into it, of, these guys at the PGA and at the Ryder Cup, okay? And it's this year. I got videos for days. We can go, if you guys ever want, comment below, let me know. We'll have an episode where we just talk shit on pros cussing. I would love that. But at the end of it, I understand that I'm not this, hodgepodge shirt, tidy-whitey, polished pro that, one, I know these guys are immensely talented, great, but, if you're starting to treat these PGA Tour professionals different than your PGA Class A professionals, but you guys were both under the same guidelines, okay, we have a problem at that expense. Something needs to change, and it needs to be called out, right? So let me get my shit going. We'll see what we got, because this whole deal is just, I love it. And so from there, let me see. All right, I'm going to show y'all a quick video. You know what? We're just going to do one. You get the point, okay? And if you want, I can show you a picture really quick. But these videos, man, are just diabolical to me.
Water.
Okay, that ain't it. That was Tyrell Hatton doing his thing. All right, I'm going to try this again. I accidentally exited it out. Yeah, I know. It's my first podcast. Let it be. I know. Y'all going to talk shit. I love it. Go ahead. I'm learning. Okay, let's see. All right. Hey, look at that. It's the entire freaking screen, son. All right. Where are we at? Oh, yeah. You see that? Look at... All right. You get the point. Here, I'm going to show y'all what I'm talking about, okay? Oh, don't look. That's my wife's page there, man. I can't see a damn thing, son. There we go. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to show you is a video of Shane Lowry at the... Oh, and here you go. So here, look at this, okay? You see this hole right here? Okay? This is Wyndham Clark, all right? This dude literally threw his driver. He got so mad. I'll show you the video, too. He got so mad. This dude threw a driver through one of the advertisement boards, right? And you can see the 16 there with the PGA logo. Oh, sorry. Oh. You see that right there, that hole? And then there's the PGA. It's hard to see it, but there you can see the whole PGA's all over this shit, right? And so this dude throws a club. I mean, dude, if I'd have done that, I would have been gone for good. I didn't even do near that. All I yelled was fuck. All right, here we go. Yeah, okay. I want you to watch this video.
Fuck this place.
I'm going to play it again.
Fuck this place. Fuck.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I can't. Why is it not? All right. So, anyways, the point is, you think they did anything to Shane Lowry? No. Of course not. And I get it. He makes them more money. They're not going to do anything to him, right? Because if the PGA goes up and says, hey, by the way, Wyndham Clark, Shane Lowry, Tyrell Hatton, Justin Thomas, blah, like all these dudes that are known for using profanity on the course, if they said, hey, we're going to suspend you for a year because, you were against, a code of ethics violation, do you really think they would do that? No, because they lose money if they do that. Why would they do that? No, but piddly little old me, like they're not going to do that. So I'm going to tell you my thoughts as to why this happened to me. Now, I know maybe I'm hiding something. Maybe I just, cuss someone out, which I didn't. I'm just inferring here. But at the end of the day, it's like these guys literally destroying property, almost hitting volunteers with golf clubs, slamming their clubs in the ground. And I get it. It was an embedded ball rule for Shane Lowry. He's pissed off. But these guys are making millions of dollars, man, on just endorsements. Like what are we doing? I just don't understand, like, as the PGA of America, what are my thoughts about, how come I am treating these Class A professionals that are upholding the integrity of the sport publicly? Why am I not giving these guys, why am I giving the PGA Tour guys slack when I have these guys in the trenches actually doing the dirty work that's keeping golf afloat. Because, according to stats, professional golf is dying. Now, public golf is up on the, kicking ass, doing its thing. But when you look at the professional golf sector, it's dying. They don't want to admit it, but it's dying. The ratings say it. Again, that's a whole nother episode. We will talk numbers on that. But the reality is that, they're doing everything they can to keep that PGA championship afloat because it's one of their biggest cash fucking cows for the whole association. So why not? But who's going to stand up for us, the Class A professionals? And I know I'm A24. I'm full of tattoos. I got the caddy look, sense of humor. I don't fit in with the polished shirt folders. You guys, and it's funny, I button my top button, right? But you guys don't want me there. You guys, there's a system here, and they want things to conform to that system. And so in order to have conformity, I'm going to make sure that the people that are a part of the organization don't, they don't challenge it. They don't broaden the horizons, right? It's like we have a system in place that's good enough. We don't want to change it, right? And so this is actually very interesting. So when I graduated North Carolina State in 2017, my director at the time was like, "Hey, look, you can't be a caddy and be a Class A professional. That doesn't exist. And in order to get elected as a Class A professional, you need to go under, was it A3, A8, maybe A13. I'm not totally positive, but there were certain criteria to become a Class A professional. And this is after I paid all this money, did all this time and effort to get there, right? I caddied at Bandon for about 2 years until they gave me my Class A. I didn't even get it immediately. I had to email Susie Whaley. She's awesome, by the way. She was really helpful for me. I had to let her know what my situation was. And the reality is the fact that I had student loans out, that gave me grounds to sue them, which I'm not going to want to sue the PGA of America. If I had the lawyer recently, I don't want to get into that, but that would have been really nice. But I didn't have that kind of money. And so talking with her, I'm thinking, look, I have these student loans out. I went through your PGM University. I did everything you asked. I passed every test. And you're still not giving me my credentials. And so then they create this classification called A24. It's called other. And so essentially if you want to get elected as a Class A professional and you don't want to go the route that the PGA desires you to, you have an option now to where you can go as an A24, but as long as it parallels the golf industry, you can get elected, which is amazing. And I'm so thankful that the PGA Tour was able to do that. And then now it's kind of at this point where, I'm starting to see that, because within the P&W section, I'm the only caddy. Now, there's more now, but I was the very first caddy actually elected within the PGA of America ever. I am your very first one. And I came from the Bandon Dunes Caddy Yard. And when you go look on my profile, it says Bandon Dunes as my course. And what's kind of an interesting political issue there is we are independent contractors. We are our own bosses. Now, the facility, they actually do, the facility itself gives us our work. So we have a caddy master. She's awesome, by the way. We are so thankful to have her. Katie, by the way, is her name. I'm telling you right now, if you want to run a caddy yard down the road, just go to Bandon Dunes and speak with them. I'm telling you, Kaiser family has figured it out at least for the caddy world. So anyways, but the thing for me was To tie all this in, um, there's a situation there, right? Because some of the upper management in Bandon Dunes is heavily involved in the P&W section, especially on the board of directors, right? We actually have ties from upper management Bandon Dunes directly to the P&W section, right? And so now I don't know for a fact, but from what I've had other head pros tell me is that my decision on my suspension, there was some upper management involvement there. Now, sure, I don't know for sure, but the reality is that the kind of the morale that has been known between the kind of the professional staff and the caddies, it's not just Bandon Dunes. I feel like that's everywhere. Now, some places may be different, but the caddy world we're looked upon as kind of this second rung in the ladder. We're not on the top of the food chain. We're going to get blamed for almost everything. And that's fine. I understand that there was caddies before us that were drunks, didn't have any degrees, didn't even have any motivation to go do shit. They were just able to go find a job carrying someone's bag and get handed money so they can go be a degenerate afterwards. I understand that, but the caddy world has evolved, and I think I'm hoping I can be one of that pioneer that blazes a trail that puts caddies in the same kind of the social demographic as a PGA professional, because especially at a facility like Bandon Dunes, the things we have to do, and I mean, we provide these experience for these guests, and they spend thousands of dollars to get there. I mean, a lot of their experience is hindered on us, and so we have to make sure that we provide that, and that's a lot of pressure sometimes because you don't know who you're dealing with, and some people you can just never please. You just have to take it for what it is. So I've realized and noticed that it's just kind of a like a systematic issue where, maybe the PGA of America hasn't really known how to incorporate, the caddy world involved in that. Or, maybe the professional staff at most places don't realize they're acting that way. I don't know. But I can tell you this, most caddy morale when it comes to dealing with the professional staff at the facility, it's never very high. It never, and that's going from multiple places I've been to caddied. It's always been that way. And and that's so, to really kind of, to tackle in what my goal is of this whole podcast, right? Obviously, I want things to change, but I want, I don't want to just talk about the problems. I want to talk about the solutions, talk about how we can, as a golf world, how to actually figure out what needs to happen to continue to this game for it to grow. In my honest opinion, we are on the brink of a disaster. We are very close, and this is, and my point is this. Just recently, I had four guys, but my two guys, they're not very avid golfers. They love golf, but they, golf maybe 3 times a year kind of people, and good guys, really solid people. And they had they all worked together, and then one of the guys was their client, and the client was a big client of theirs, and for his appreciation for them, he wanted to take them on a golf trip. So he takes them on a golf trip, and they come out to Bandon, and they're having a blast. Well, the second day, it's raining pretty bad, and this guy was like, okay, well, let me see about some rain gear. Okay. $1,200 for fucking rain gear. $1,200, dude. Fucking rain gear. That's like a down payment on a car, dude. Rain gear. And you're like, okay, well, what's the big deal? It's rain gear. Well, it's like if rain gear's that expensive and they feel like the demand is that high to where they can charge that for that, do you think middle class families are going to want to get involved in a sport that costs that much? I wouldn't. Why would I want my, if I'm, 9 to 5 worker making 40, 50,000 a year on a salary at a job, and my kid absolutely loves golf, you think I'm going to just be adamant, be like, you know what, we're going to get him into golf, man. Like, I can't afford that. Hell, public golf is so blown up right now because that's the only way for middle-class families to even have a chance at this game. That's why the public golf is blown out of proportion. And not only that, you have people in the public golf sector buying out blocks of tee times and then trying to resell them for like double the price. That shit's going on in LA right now. And people are like, well, the demand's high. It's like, dude, yeah, but the one thing is we have golf course closures. Now, I want to look at that stat. I would say more golf courses are closing than opening, but hopefully maybe that slowed it down. Maybe it's switched. I don't know. I just don't hear a lot of golf courses opening up. I see the other way. I could be wrong. But it's amazing how we have these ideas that golf is booming because of the public golf sector, and yet it's like $1,000 for rain gear? $800 putters? I mean, you can't buy a set of golf clubs right now for under $3,000, and I'm talking legit ones. Sure, you can definitely go buy a set from, Costco, Fred Meyer. Fuck, who cares? Get the damn Kirkland shit for $500-600. Great, but like an avid young player that's got any talent. I mean, you think a single parent household can afford that? Fuck no. And so this is kind of where I'm at with this whole thing, is golf needs to change. The golf environment needs to change, and it starts with organizations like the PGA of America and the PGA Tour. And the problem is that what's creating this issue is greed. It's 100% greed, and it sucks because you have a sport that to me is one of the most. I'm trying to put it's one. Obviously, it's an amazing sport. I want to use a better verb than that. It's like a spiritual experience for me, because you're playing a sport while you're interacting with Earth. And I know you play soccer and you play baseball, but that's a diamond. Everything's built. It's all man-made. And yes, there's some golf. Golf is man-made, but golf also uses nature. And so you find yourself in trees, and you find yourself in areas where man hasn't really done much. I don't know. And that, to me, brings out the spiritual element to it. And I think a lot of people enjoy that part of golf, and that's why, as a PGA professional, we love teaching the game. That's why we're big on, especially me caddying. Like, it's amazing that players get upset to think that, oh, they're not a good player, we want nothing to do with them. Like, fuck that. We don't give a shit who you are, what kind of player you are. What we really want is we want people participating, because it's an amazing game. And it's for everyone. Literally, we have tee boxes set up for juniors, for young kids, old timers. I mean, we got, you can walk, you get exercise, you're outside, you're breathing fresh air. If it's sunlight, you get, there's just so many positives from it. And, to me, I think in America, I think we have to really start to get back to the core of why we're even doing this to begin with. And golf is not a business. It's not a business. It's a recreational event that's supposed to be therapy. It's supposed to be therapeutic. And what happened is when the PGA Tour separated themselves from the PGA of America, it turned into a business. And now you're left with, these, basically you're watching an organization that's full of trust fund kids fighting over money that they've already had. Because Q School cost $18,000, dude. You want to, who's going to pay for that? I mean, God forbid you have a young kid who's got a whole lot of talent. I mean, what are you going to do? There's college coaches now saying they don't even look at high school scores. They strictly look at national tournament coverage. Who the fuck's paying for that? Oh, yeah, the rich people. God bless y'all. Thank you. But, I mean, these kids, to them, I mean, no offense, I'm sure there's some of them that love the game, but most of them think it's a business. That's the way it's presented now. It's a business. Hey, you play these tournaments and you do well, you get on a college team, and then you get that PGA Tour and then you start making mommy and daddy money because the prizes are fucking insane. I mean, some of these tournaments, the winner's making $4 million. But yet, assistant pros, we can't find a way to get them a salary job that's over $80,000. Why? Because there's and again, my next episode, we will dive heavy into all this. But the whole point of this podcast is I want to bring awareness to what's really wrong in the golf world. I really want to figure out what we can do to solve that. I have ideas. I'm not going to just talk about problems. I don't want to give you my solutions right now. Obviously, I want this podcast to get going. But this episode for me is to get you all aware of the reality of the situation, okay? Golf is turning into polo and the popularity of bowling. That's exactly where it's headed. And if we don't do something soon within the next 10 years, the PGA Tour ratings are going to be so low, they're going to lose all these endorsements, okay, all these major sponsors, and then the PGA Tour or the PGA of America is going to get affected by that, right? Because now you're going to have less people motivated to play the game because the PGA Tour provides the most influence. Sorry, you influencers. I know you got your YouTube channel. But without Tiger Woods on that PGA Tour, Phil Mickelson, even now Bryson, Brooks, all these guys that are winning majors, that's what provides the influence. That's what kids love, is to see somebody hold up a trophy and win something big and sacrifice a lot for it and to put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. That's what kids want. That's what we need to have because that creates better modeled citizens growing up. This vanity bullshit with YouTube, they're basically exploiting the influence that these, Jack, Tiger, all these guys have provided for them, and they've exploited that for their own personal gain because we have created this game and turned it into a business. And when you do that, you lose the integrity of the sport. And when you begin to lose the integrity of the sport, you will then start to have a downfall because money does not provide longevity. Money is like a heavy endorphin rush that you get immediately, and then once you're done with that endorphin rush, you're going to be looking for more. But as a hobby, as something that is passionate, that's a whole different love, man. That's a love you can't take from somebody. And if we raise our young kids to go more along those lines of being passionate golfers that love the game and take the business side out of it, then maybe we can start to have a game that's going to grow and actually not even grow. Maybe we can maintain a game that has enough integrity to where we're not having to worry about the longevity of the sport because we have built a game on the foundation and principles of stuff that actually means something more than just money. And to see somebody like my situation, I mean, my suspension completely ruined my reputation in the section. I have a hard time going to meetings now. I don't even want to be around most of these PGA guys in the P&W section. No offense to them. I'm sure most of them are good people, but I can't trust them. I mean, I couldn't use. I literally had to go around changing my business cards, or not even that. I had to make sure that I wasn't giving my business cards out a lot because it had the PGA logo on it, and so I had to completely change everything. It's all for what? Yelling fuck? And I know why, because I don't make you enough money. Look at me. I'm a tattooed A24 from a caddy yard. Like, I don't fit the mold. I don't fit the business model, right? But see, that's the problem. Golf is for everyone. It's not for the rich. Never has been. That's why St. Andrews turns into a park on Sundays. And things need to change. And if they don't change fast, golf will be like bowling. You will never know who the pros are. Golf courses are going to be vacant because no one's going to have the influence to want to go. It's going to cost so much fucking money, which I know bowling doesn't. But if we don't figure this out, golf is going to cost so much money to the point where people are not even going to do it. I mean, dude, Titleist Vokey wedge right now, stock, is almost $200. It's like $180. And then if you get the raw one, which is like doesn't even have any finish on it, that's $220 for a fucking wedge, man. A wedge, like that's. Oh, I have a lot to say. So, finish up the first episode. Thank y'all for listening. My next episode, we're going to talk about PGA politics. I'm going to talk about the PGA of America, how that came about, how the PGA came about, the tour. What exactly, maybe some solutions that I can start to figure out what would help this situation. What can we start to do that would maybe dial in, maybe take away the business side of golf and turn it into more of a recreational, what it's supposed to be. And I think a lot of that, now again, most of what I'm talking about is the PGA of America and the PGA Tour, which deals with American golf. Okay, I don't know Europe. From what I can tell, I feel like Europe still has some integrity attached to it. It's why we lose the Ryder Cup a lot, because Europe still doesn't just cater to the rich trust fund kids. Europe actually gives incentives to kids that want to do it, hence why they have such a good team and why they have good teamwork, because they still move with class. And it's not a business to them over there. It's a sport. It is a recreation. It is a passion. And I think in America, that is something that we need to figure out quick. Because I think that will not only benefit the business side of it, what I think it'll do, obviously, is it will start to create more influence in the game. And, you want your next Ben Hogan, you want your next Tiger Woods. Well, Ben Hogan had to sleep in a bunker on a driving range just to get his, So remember that, most of your passionate, really dedicated golfers, not saying all of them, but most of them, they didn't come at it with a business mindset. They came at it in a much clearer perspective. And so I think we need to really change our ways and figure out how to get this in a proper position. So thank you all for your time. Again, my name's Tim Palmer. This is Looper Talk, and thank y'all. Have a good night.
Inside the I withstood the storm, but I know temptation waits for years and all. It's a lot of money on the line for this. If we get everybody jumping in the crowd, my partner said he probably put somebody in the ground for this. We used to talk about it, but I live it now. Now I need